There we go. Okay, hey gang, it's Jerry, Levinson, and Miranda here again. This time we are going to record the call. Just had a great meeting with everyone and realized the recording. I didn't have the recording on. So let's do this one more time. We got a good practice run in. But what I wanted to show you guys today is how we run our Monday morning meetings and specifically going over the weekly report. This is something that some people have asked about. How do we go over, or somebody was saying, how do you improve the performance of the salespeople? What kind of numbers do you go over? So we decided to have this class. Miranda is the sales manager for Carpets of Arizona. So I asked her to sit on this call because she's the one that goes over this report with all the salespeople every Monday morning meeting. All right. First off, I want to tell you, I'm going to have the first ever digital flooring business masterclass. It's going to be January 7th and 8th. The times are going to be from, that's a Thursday and Friday, and first week of the year. The times are going to be from 9 a.m. to 12, and that's Arizona time. So it's something that everybody should be able to attend, or at least get the recording for yourself. And at least you can share this with your team. When we have a master class, it's normally $750 to come out, and then an extra $250 if you want to bring a guest. This way you can have all your people, the salespeople together, and anybody in your team that would benefit from it can attend this class. And that's just $497. I'll be promoting that more. And what we talk about in the masterclass is, first we talk about marketing and how to attract the best customers. That's the play in this game. Listen, I'm not a flooring expert. I built this business on marketing. Your ability to attract customers is everything. It's funny when prices go down, or if the economy goes down and people lower their prices. Nobody knows that you lowered your price without marketing. So just lowering your price doesn't attract more customers. You have to market the fact that you did that, which I don't recommend you doing that, but I do recommend you understand and learn about marketing. Sales, how to create good, effective sales presentations from introduction to close. How do you answer the phone? How do you greet customers when they come into the showroom? How do you answer that first question? All the way down to closing and asking for the sale and selling in the home. We're going to talk about employees and how to hire the right employees and build your culture. We're going to talk a lot about that today. Raising your prices, big subject. It's funny they talk about the biggest fear that people have is public speaking. Well, I think the biggest fear people have is raising their prices, because if I start talking to people about raising their prices, they start going into cold sweats. Their heart starts beating fast and they feel like, oh, I'm going to lose all my business if I raise my prices. And once they do it, they're like, oh my God, I should have done that a long time ago. So I'm going to show you some ways that you can raise your prices and make it easier for people to make a buying decision. You're going to increase your margins and you're going to increase your closing rate. After a masterclass, it never fails. Raise your prices, raise your closing rate. It's a no-brainer. And then there's a lot more that we get into. So a lot of valuable information, things that are current. We talk about what's happening and how to improve overall business performance. So a Monday morning meeting. This is something I learned from a guy, Chet Holmes. He's dead now. Got Chet Holmes through Tony Robbins. Chet Holmes wrote The Ultimate Sales Machine. It was one of the best business books I've ever read. A lot of what I do is based on that book. And his writing is very black and white. He tells you exactly how to hire a salesperson. He tells you exactly how to do your marketing and exactly how to do a sales presentation. It's really good information. So I recommend that book highly to everyone. Again, it's The Ultimate Sales Machine by Chet Holmes. One of the things he talks about is having a Monday morning meeting or having a weekly meeting. I read that book probably 10 years ago. And in my previous business, I started implementing that. Even though I was a small company, we only had a few people. We had a dedicated weekly meeting, and it really helped the culture and helped improve the company. So what do you discuss at a weekly meeting? First of all, you're going to share your goals. This is really important. I teach everyone to do this You want to share your goals because you want your employees to buy into it. They'll understand that there's a destination. Look, if they're just coming into work because it's a job, they can find another job someplace else, one that pays more money. So you get them married into the goals of the company, and they'll help you build that company. They want you to succeed. And no, they're not going to get jealous and they're not going to be angry if you're making money. They're making money too, but they enjoy it. They enjoy seeing the company reach these goals. You're going to review the sales performance of each salesperson. We're going to go over that in great detail here in a minute. You share your marketing. This is very funny that a lot of us as small business owners will place an ad and then we don't discuss that with our salespeople. So what happens, a customer calls up and they want that sale or special, and the salespeople are clueless because they didn't realize that you placed that ad. So very common in small companies. Another thing that you should demand of your salespeople is that they review the website. What are customers seeing on the website? And they should familiarize themselves with that enough. And I'll admit it, we don't do that enough here. We got to get better at that. But everybody should be familiar with the website and that customer experience so they understand what they're looking at. Some things that they're not seeing on the website so they can understand their frustration when they can't see some information that they're looking for. Review the sales process with them. It never fails. I listen to all the salespeople. They all get jammed up from time to time. Customers ask questions and they don't know how to answer it. So we review that and we constantly are improving. There's always something to learn. Every week, I find something new to teach the salespeople, and we discuss it and implement it so that they're prepared for odd questions. We review problems. If there's a problem that comes up, we deal with that problem, and then we're going to review it. And then any business that needs to be addressed, anything that's going on that we feel it's important to address with them, that they should be aware of. All right, we're not going to spend a lot of time on this, but I want Miranda to quickly go over what this sheet is. This is the back side of our form. So I want her to go over what this form means. Go ahead, Miranda.
So this is the back sheet of our Monday morning meeting report. And this is good just for us to kind of talk about what's in our pipeline. So with that allows us to see, okay, well, it looks like this individual has a lot of leads. So we all know that that's going to turn into appointments, appointments turn into estimates, estimates turn into sales. So that allows us to kind of predict and see kind of where we're headed for the week, the next week, week and a half in terms of sales and cash flow. That top portion there, balances owed, that's basically the back half of payments for work that we've completed in the week prior. And that's important for me to stay on top of and make sure that, you know, everyone's doing their part, collecting those final balances, just to kind of keep on top of that cash flow aspect as well. To the right of that, where it says open estimates, that's really good for me to see that dollar amount of how much is out there in terms of what we've quoted but haven't closed yet. So that tells us, okay, well, we can kind of make our predictions for the coming weeks and month based upon how heavy that pipeline is for those open estimates.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity there. And one of the things that Miranda implemented was, you know, if you have a job that you're having trouble closing, give that to me and let me try. And that accounted for about 40,000 in sales last month, where she took on, you know, half a dozen leads and called that customer and see if there's anything she can do to help move it along, whether it was lower the price a little bit or ask answer a question that the customer had, a detail. Maybe it was just touching base at the right time. So maybe it didn't have anything to do with the price. It was just timing and staying with it, follow up, follow up, follow up. Balances owed is funny because we at one time didn't have the salespeople involved in that. We wanted them continuing selling. We've gone back and forth on that a little bit, but it just helps complete the customer experience, helps that salesperson get the review, maybe referrals, but we're getting a lot more reviews, partially because they're responsible for following up and collecting the balance owed.
Yeah, and then on that note too, when they do make that final call, just to collect that final balance, a big part of that is hey, Mr. and Mrs. So and so, I just wanted to check in and make sure that everything went great with your project, and kind of touch base, circle back, and kind of do that closing out process, and just get feedback on the installers as well. So that's a big portion of that whole sales process. Closing it out. So.
So again, we did this earlier, so I want to see some of the questions that were asked. Okay, we're good for now. So, and this is the next segment. I didn't say this in the beginning, but normally what happens is Shane, who's my son, he's the CEO of the company. He's really driving the ship right now. He starts off the meeting, kind of the state of affairs, what's going on. And then he hands the meeting over to Miranda, and then she does her thing with all the data that we have here. Go ahead.
Exactly. So with that, it's my job to make, drive the numbers of the company and continue building the company and whatnot. And the way that we kind of, we're finding the most success is kind of establishing our goals and doing that backward planning. So my role is pulling a lot of data just to see, what the closing rate is for our salespeople, what their average ticket is, just so we can know what their goals are, and so we can work towards those. To benefit the salesperson and to benefit the company, of course. So this form is really good because it's also super interactive with the each sales person. So on the bottom right-hand corner where it has last week's goals, that's established very early on the month, and that's in relation to their current performance with their closing rate, their average ticket, in relation to their goal. So if you look at that first line there where it says Cheryl. So for Cheryl to meet her goals for the month, she needs to do 7 leads, 3 estimates, 2 sales, 12,000 in revenue every week for the month. So she does that, she's right on track to meet her goal. So each salesperson knows those numbers, and they can speak to it. So every Monday morning, I kind of recap last week. So I say, okay, Cheryl, so last week, your goal was 7 leads, 3 estimates, 2 sales, revenue goal of 12,000. Tell me about your week. And I pass it off to them so they can speak to it. That is a little bit more interactive and a little bit more engaging. And it also, when they're doing well, it's a sense of pride for them as well, too. So then Cheryl would say, well, last week I did 10 leads, 5 estimates, 5 sales, a revenue of 19,000 at a 43% profit margin. That's fantastic. And we kind of talk about that. Wow, Cheryl, that's great. Tell me about your success. How did you achieve that? And we talk about that. We celebrate that. Some of the other salespeople that are missing the mark, they kind of take some notes on that as well. So it's always fun, and it's always kind of engaging. And each person has something to say, to speak to their business. And a big thing also is to make sure that the salespeople are speaking to anything they're doing for resolution if they are missing the mark here and there. So it's expected that if they're not meeting their lead goal, and if they're not meeting their revenue goal, they need to be doing something to try to generate more leads for themselves, just to try and get some more sales going for them and for the company. So if they do miss the mark, for instance, the third one down in that last week's numbers column, Josh, he did very well. He was 1 short on his lead goal. So Josh says, hey, I did 5 leads, 8 estimates, 4 sales. I did miss the mark on my lead goal, but I did this, and this to try and kind of make resolution on that, so I can kind of build up my pipeline for next week.
Yeah.
So it's all about building, and it's all about resolution. And if they miss the mark, it's never negative. It's, hey, what can we do to fix it?
Let me break this down a little bit further for you. So this is not about reaching sales numbers. The sales number is a goal. This is about reaching the number of leads. Because you guys all have this data, you just got to break it down a little bit more, okay? And I'm going to show you a way to keep this simple. Don't do what we're doing because it's too much right out of the gate. I'm going to show you a simple way to at least get started. But if your sales revenue is $30,000 and your average ticket is $5,000, then you need 6 sales to reach $30,000. Well, if your closing rate is 50%, you know you're going to need 12 appointments. You're going to need 12 estimates, 12 leads. So take your revenue and figure out what your closing rate is, figure out what your average ticket is, and figure out how many leads you need. That's the focus. It's not on the sales goal. It's on the leads that you need based on your closing rate, based on your average ticket to reach your revenue goals. So they're not focusing on all these numbers. You know, these are the results of the numbers, but the focus is on lead generation. So Miranda holds them accountable. It's like, what are you doing? Now we do a lot of marketing at Carpets of Arizona, so we're good at it, and we generate a lot of leads and a lot of traffic. But we want to know, when you're sitting around and you don't have a lead, there's a phone call, what are you doing to generate some leads? So if you miss the mark, that's okay, but what were you doing? So if you only have 5 leads, were you at least prospecting? Were you going after property managers or networking groups? What were you doing to help out your own situation? Because, you know, figure it, each salesperson, it's like their own business. They have their own mini business, and it's up to them to grow their business and make it better. So what are you doing to generate more business for yourself, to create more revenue for yourself? Because it all ends up benefiting them in the long run. And everybody gets a chance to speak too. That really helps the energy and the atmosphere of a Monday morning meeting. And it also holds everybody accountable, you know. So nobody's getting like chastised or pointed out. They are getting celebrated. But look, if your number's not good, it's a little bit embarrassing. So you want to come to the table with something, and you don't always want to be in the red. If you're always in the red, you might not be here much longer, because, and it's nothing against them, but we're built for success. So we've got all the tools in place, from the lead generation to the marketing to the sales presentation. It's all the stuff we teach in a masterclass. It's stuff we do here. It's not just stuff that I invented. It's stuff that we do to be successful. And if you can't be successful within the system, then maybe you aren't a good salesperson. Maybe this isn't the right job for you. So it's not personal. You know, this is business, and we want everybody to make money, have fun, take care of the customer. That's our culture, and we drive that every Monday morning meeting.
Mm-hmm. So something that I found really interesting that we started doing was color coding the numbers for last week. Since we started doing that, it is remarkable just to see what that little change that we did has on people. So if they're in the green, that means that they met their goals for the week. If it's purple, that means they met their goals. And if it's red, it means that they didn't meet their goals. So, you know, if someone is all in the green, Cheryl, that means she exceeded all of her goals, and that's fantastic. That's absolutely the goal. So, you know, that's something that they kind of celebrate, and they're like, wow, I was in the green all last week. And it just kind of a little bit of a kind of like a fun thing that we do. However, if it's in the red, then that person, I know they definitely kind of feel it. They're like, oh man, I was in the red. I got to really hustle this upcoming week to get myself out of that. So it's just so interesting to see what that little change has done. And you know, it really kind of puts it in perspective. It's not just numbers, it's just kind of color coding. So I highly recommend that too. The response that we've gotten from the salespeople has been huge with that minor change.
Yeah, really work psychologically on them. So did you get everything here, Miranda?
Yeah, so you know, we talked about last week's goals. We talked about last week's numbers in relation to those goals, and then we discussed the goals for the week, which is on that that top right hand corner. So of course, all those goals are generated by myself, and that's kind of based historically on the salesperson's closing rate, their average ticket, and all that backwards planning that goes into play with that.
Okay, so I was telling you this earlier. This is a lot, and it took us a long time to develop this, and we've developed more and changed our system over time. In fact, Miranda got promoted to sales manager, and she even created something called Run the Play, which was really good. So, you know, I've always taught people that you got to name your system, because Run the Play, what is Run the Play, Miranda?
So run the play means that in our system, that they have the invoice uploaded, they have the measure sheet uploaded, they annotate the job sale price in our system, and they have a task for themselves to follow up with that client. So all of those things, that's called running the play. That's what we've set up for them. It's proven that, just doing those simple things adds so much to the success of the company and kind of growing it and making sure that each lead is individually nurtured for the end game of closing that lead. So if I have those things in there, that allows me to jump in and look at any order from any salesperson in the company and know exactly what's going on with that. Because then a lot of times I can identify opportunities that we can, modify or change or kind of close a little bit quicker than the salesperson typically would do. So every time that, there is something missing in that salesperson's file for that client, I just send them a note, hey, run the play, and they know exactly what that means. So.
And people respect what you inspect. So Miranda and the company, we stay on top of the numbers. We ask them about it, and it's a fun atmosphere. Now, it seems arduous and difficult to work for Carpets of Arizona, but we just got 2 salespeople back who did leave at one time and thought we were a little bit too corporate, and all the stuff we do and demand of them is complicated. It seems complicated, right? It's kind of like how people were when they start with RLM and entering the leads, and people will bitch and whine, but you get them on that. Now they left for another person who wasn't organized, and the amount of frustration they had was through the roof. They now came back and they appreciate our systems. They are 1,000% on board with anything we ask of them, because they're also making a hell of a lot of money selling for us. But they just love the system. They also love the customer experience, because without all these systems, without these processes, you don't have a good customer experience. But if everybody knows what to do, because you got processes down, you create a better customer experience. It just makes the whole thing more enjoyable for the owner, the employees, and the customers. So saying start off small. Don't try to do what we did here. Start off with the total sales for the week or even the month. I would recommend you start off for the month. Get used to understanding the average ticket, the closing rate. We even have in our document what's the margins, because we want to see bigger margins. Bigger margins give us the opportunity to grow the business, which means more sales, which means more revenue for the salespeople. Also means better customer experience. So never think that you're ripping off a customer because you charge them too much. I'm not sure what that means, charging them too much. If they agreed to the price that you gave them, then you should do what you agreed to do for that price. The only way you rip off a customer is if you don't do what you agreed to do for the price you agreed to do it for. Okay. And oftentimes it's the people that undercharge, that can't do what they said they were going to do. Those guys are the ones ripping off customers, and it's not because of the price. Okay. So charge accordingly. You guys have skills. You are worth more than what you're charging. So charge what you're worth. Okay. Use that to grow your company and use it to do a great job and take care of your customer. Include that piece of trim, include that little extra bit of work, moving furniture, whatever. All right. So, but just track the total sales for the week or for the month. And then do you have leads or appointments? Go around and ask the salespeople, what do you have going on? Do you have leads? Do you have appointments? And then what are you doing? What's the action items? Build up to what we have here, or build up to a better system than you have now. Look for the ways to improve. Look for numbers that are meaningful for you too. Try not to get too much into the minutia where it doesn't make any sense. What makes sense is really understanding how many leads do I need to reach my revenue goals. Okay, so you're going to need to know your closing rate, and you're going to need to know your average ticket price. And many people don't know. I've discussed a lot of people with one-on-one masterminds, and I get it. You run a flooring business. Your skill and expertise is in flooring, but you got to increase your skills into running that business. Okay, this is something else that Miranda does. We don't just rely on weekly meetings. So she does a monthly sales review. And I'll just point out here right off the top, she's brutal. That's why, every review has a box of Kleenex in it, just, because she makes them cry.
That hasn't happened yet. Super nice. I'm sorry, I couldn't say that with a straight face, but it hasn't happened yet. So far, so good. So this one-on-one review I do with every single salesperson every month. And that monthly review, it happens the first couple days of the month, and we're recapping the month prior. So the first couple days of December, we discuss November. So with that, I really dig into each metric that we can kind of base a salesperson off of. So we kind of recap what their quarterly goal is. And from there, we kind of just establish what the monthly revenue goal would be. So then we do that backwards planning. Then we figure, okay, well, based upon your closing rate, based upon your average ticket, you need X amount of sales based upon that average ticket. Based upon your closing rate, you need X amount of estimates. Based upon that lead to estimate conversion, you need X amount of leads. So then it seems pretty cumbersome, but it's just kind of rehashing how many leads you need, how many estimates you need, and how many sales you need per month. And then from there, we break it down. So it's a little bit more tangible. So then I break it down for the week. So each salesperson knows that each week they need to do X amount of leads, X amount of estimates, X amount of sales, and bring in X amount of revenue in order to stay on pace for their monthly goal, which of course translates to their quarterly goal. And that's really good to kind of establish and make sure they know exactly where they need to be each week so they have something to work for consistently. At that point in the review, we always talk about their why. A lot of these people have goals outside of work, and we discuss it, and I support them on that. And we figure, okay, well, how much money do you actually need to take home a month to be comfortable, to do whatever your end game goal is. And from there, that kind of can influence our sales goal for their quarter or for their month. If we need to bump it up a little bit to make sure that they're okay on their end, to keep working towards their why, and making sure that I kind of follow up with them just to make sure they're on pace for that. On the personal end of things. So in that review, we also discussed the year-to-date data and where they're at so far. So at that point, we discussed how many leads they've gotten for the year so far, how many they're currently working on, and then how many sales they've had so far for the year. And then, of course, that determines what their closing rate is for the year. We also talk about how much revenue they've brought in for the year so far, their average ticket, and their margin. So the three things that I really look for is closing rate, average ticket, and margin. Those are big drivers just to make sure that everyone's on board and everyone's pulling their weight with the idea of those things directly correlate into the growth of the company. And then something new that we started tracking was that the leads that were created in the month prior. So we talk about leads that were only created in November, and then we talk about how many of those they're still working on and how many sales they've had. So with Cheryl, for instance, one of our senior salespeople, we found that she has a really quick turnaround time in terms of getting the lead and closing it. For leads that were created in November, she had a 74% closing rate, which is amazing. So that was really cool to see. And just for kind of reference, for last month, her total revenue was $7,000. 64,000 of that was based off of leads that were only created in November. So that tells me, okay, when Cheryl gives an estimate, she's got to follow up right away just to make sure that, she has the ability to close that lead quicker. She has a really quick turnaround rate. And the longer that lead goes, or that estimate goes, without being closed, that closing rate just kind of dwindles down significantly. So that allows.
Jennifer asked that question earlier. Jennifer Baker says, what's your average time from initial lead to close? Do you have any limits to that for tracking purposes? So yeah, and that's been developed over the last couple of months, actually. So started tracking that more. And this is one of the points I made earlier, is the reason we give people the leads that we give them is based on their ability to close it as quick as possible. So we marry the person to the customer, it's not like it's your turn for a lead. It's your turn for a lead. We don't blindly give leads to people we look for something in common with the customer and the salesperson, or some people are better at selling carpet. One person is really good at selling hard surface. So we want to give the company the best opportunity to earn the business. It's not out of loyalty or fairness to give them each equal amount of leads. Okay, we're building a company here, and we're going to do what's in the company's best interest. Salesperson can understand that and hone their skills in other areas, so we choose them. But the lead to close time that was asked was a really good question, because that's something in our industry that it takes a long time to close a lead. One of the reasons is people don't give estimates in the home. Something we work on in a master class. I want to show you guys how to give an estimate in the home, how to overcome all those variables. But are the salespeople asking for the order in the home? Then what's their follow-up like? You know, it's unacceptable that a salesperson doesn't follow up. And I love it when people say, I don't want to annoy the customer. We actually talked about that this week in our sales meeting. Well, I don't want to bother them. I don't want to annoy them. I asked them a question. How many times did a customer say to you, thanks for bothering me, thanks for annoying me, or staying on top of it, because I probably wouldn't have gone with you otherwise? And everyone's like, yep, I've had a customer. And I said, well, how many times has you as a consumer thanked somebody for staying on top of you because you wanted to purchase something, but you got busy, you got distracted, and this salesperson kept bugging you, you know? So, and we're sitting back here saying, we don't want to bother customers. Well, they want us to bother them because they still want to place the order. They're just distracted with other things. So don't have that attitude of, I don't want to bother customers.
Exactly. And then on the point of you know, making sure that each salesperson is kind of suited for each individual lead, something that I've been tracking is a closing rate by type. So basically seeing what each individual salesperson's closing rate is for carpet, for hard surface, for those combo jobs with carpet and a hard surface project. And that allows the salesperson and myself to see, okay, well, you're really good at this surface. There's some opportunity on this other surface. So let's get you more trained up on that. Let's spend some time working on that. And that also tells me, okay, well, if I have someone that has a fantastic closing rate with hard surface, chances are they're going to get the lion's share of the hard surface leads, just to give us the best opportunity to close that lead. So that's something that's been really successful for us, that, and then also tracking the revenue by flooring type, just to see, you know, what are the high dollar items that we're selling, so we can kind of hone in on that and sell some more of it.
And Rachel Berlin also asked, how do you handle overdue tasks? You know, and as sales managers, it can be frustrating if the salespeople don't do what you ask them to do. So go ahead and address that.
So we have a really good system, you know, to kind of track overdue tasks. The really good thing about Carpets of Arizona that I love about my salespeople is that that's a non-issue. Everyone's really motivated. Everyone's a self-starter, and everyone actually has bought into, you know, the vision of the company, and making sure that they're doing everything that they need to do to stay successful and to help build up the company. If there was something overdue, you know, we would certainly address it, but that's just not something that we've encountered.
I mean, it's happened, but the fact is all the follow-up and all this, the Monday morning meeting, we hold them accountable.
Mm-hmm.
So people respect what you inspect. If you hold them accountable, ask them about it, and get to a point. You know, and again, Jason Goldberg built all this into RLM. So you have tasks, you have follow-up. You can review that as a sales manager and see if their tasks are overdue. And, you know, it takes a little time to get people to make sure you're doing the work and following up on those tasks. So, and we've been relentless about it, but it works. We don't really have a problem with people not doing what they're supposed to, because we stayed on top of them.
Exactly. And having those Monday morning meetings where we all discuss everyone's successes and opportunities, I think that's what really drives that culture of being self-starters and making sure that, you know, you're pulling your weight, you know, as an individual.
So that's the end of this session. Is there anything else that you wanted to go over, Miranda?
No, I think we got quite a bit.
So Ask questions, reach out to us. You can reach out to Miranda. I'm going to throw her under the bus. So you can reach out to her if you want, or me if you have any questions. I'll post this on our forum. And then I want, for the people that are attending, or if you're seeing this recording, I got a special offer for those of you for the masterclass coming up. The first 10 that sign up to the masterclass, the first digital masterclass, you're going to save $100. So the masterclass will be just $397. It's kind of a no-brainer. It'll be January 7th and 8th. And if you can't make it, I'll at least share the recording with you if you pay the $397. So we'll have that coming up. You'll see more promotions for that, but be one of the first 10 to sign up, and you'll just pay $397. Looking forward to seeing a lot of people. I can't wait to get back to a live masterclass. I love doing that. People get a lot out of being there with other peers and finding out what they're doing. So there's a lot of good networking that goes on, but until some of the craziness dies down, I'm gonna go ahead and do this one online, and you can look forward to a live one coming up real soon. But reach out to me and I'll send you the PayPal sign up form and get you going so you can be part of the next masterclass. January 7th and 8th is the Thursday and Friday, first week of the year. 2021, business will be a little bit slower starting off the year, so it'll be a good time to set the goals, get the marketing in place, get your sales processes down, and make 2021 a record year for you. All right, guys, we'll see you in the forum. Go out there and make some money.